Hey guys, Brandon Furchess, LS4 King. Been getting a lot of messages about the Crusty Carlo. People have been looking for an update on where the project sits. Full transparency, what you see is kind of where the car's been for a couple weeks now. We've had a ton of work here in-house and I haven't really had a lot of time to get in on my own project, but we've still made some significant progress. I wanted to share with everybody where we're at and kind of detail some of the modifications we've made to the cooling system, as well as the most notable feature, which is our new forward-facing turbo. Super stoked about that. I've always wanted to build a car with one, so here it is. So let's dive into the details and I can kind of share where we're at with this thing. So as you can see, we've got the engine bay all stripped down. The old 3800 and the 4T65 is off to a good home. We got a customer who's doing a supercharged Monte Carlo swap, so he's going to be taking advantage of the low mileage motor that was in here. Really excited that it's going to a good dude. In terms of the engine bay, we've just kind of thinned out all the things we're not going to be using, reducing a little bit of weight, getting rid of some of the clutter. You'll notice we've done away with the ABS and the cruise control. We'll just be putting an adjustable proportioning valve and plumbing the brakes from there. The wiring, we've relocated the fuse box and started tucking the body harness into the frame rail. One less thing to route around exhaust and fuel lines. The more things that we can get tucked out of our way, the better. I did that on the previous car. We had really good luck with it. Aesthetically, it's super pleasing. It's just labor intensive. So obviously we haven't made a lot of progress in terms of having an engine and transmission in the vehicle. What we've been concentrating on was addressing the cooling system and being able to facilitate a forward-facing turbocharger. So I'm really excited about how this package. We're using two CSF King cooler drag radiators, which were intended for SFWD guys, Honda guys, Acuras, things like that. But we were pleasantly surprised to find that they fit awesome in the W-body radiator support. We tied two of them together. They're running parallel, and that allows us to put the turbo in the front bumper area, route the exhaust out the back, and we still have enough room to facilitate the factory hood latch, the cable release, the headlight bracketry. Everything's nice and tight and compact and still retain all the features of a true street car, which is really, really cool. Super excited about that. They're compact modules that include fittings and an electric fan with an integrated shroud. So once we realized that we could fit two of these really nicely in the radiator support, we went ahead and flipped them so that the fans are now pushers. That frees up real estate between the header or the exhaust manifold of the LS4 and the radiator support. So mounting these radiators into the chassis was relatively easy. They're threaded metric bungs in both end tanks, and the radiators actually come with some brackets that we were really surprised worked perfectly in our upper rad support. The only modification we had to do was trim them down a tiny bit, and we added a couple metric nut certs. On the bottom of the radiators, I machined some steel feet that we welded to the lower radiator support, and we just have some standard pass-through hardware that comes through the bottom of the radiator support right up into the radiator core. And the way that this is secured should really help us with isolating some of the vibration so we don't have to worry about inducing that into the end tanks and experiencing things like cracking around those mounting feet. So once the radiators were secured into the chassis, we had to figure out how we were going to supply them with water from the water manifold. So we elected to design some hard lines out of 1.5 inch 304 stainless with some -16 fittings welded on them. Now, the reason we chose to go this route as opposed to just soft lining the whole thing is we're going to have a lot of heat concentrated in a very tight area between those radiators. I didn't want to take a chance of burning through a radiator hose on a long drive or during a heated pass down the track. So the top and lower section of the radiator hoses is all one piece. It's isolated with its own mounting brackets. Again, when you plan something like this, you need to keep in mind where vibration's going to come from, where movement's going to come from. So we kind of addressed all those things at once to eliminate fatigue, eliminate cracking, eliminate failures. So one thing I wanted to point out, as I mentioned before, the CSF radiators did include really nice fittings. They come with two different styles. You have a O-ring -16 adapter, and then you have a barb style for your traditional radiator hose or silicone couplers if you wanted to adapt to a hard line. Now, these are really nice pieces, but we chose not to use them. Reason being, whenever I design plumbing for a vehicle, whether it be fuel, transmission, coolant, doesn't matter, I try to eliminate as many potential leak locations as possible. So what I mean by that is if I were to use the fittings that CSF supplied, they have a female bung in the radiator end tank, this O-ring adapter threads in, and then traditionally you would build your plumbing off of that adapter using a hose end. So this is, what a traditional assembly would essentially look like. And what you have here is two places for a potential leak. Whether it be O-ring failure, or you over-tighten the nut and it cracks, or there's a manufacturing defect. Regardless, no matter how you look at it, there's two locations for potential failure. So in an effort to reduce that, we use these fittings from Fragola that are direct fit hose ends. So hose comes in one end. In our case, we use the sport crimp lines that they assembled for us. So they were crimped in-house at Fragola and then shipped to us. But you do have the option of assembling the hose yourself. This is a standard 3000 series cutter end. So if you were to order the black nylon race hose, you could build these at home. We just chose to go with a crimped style instead. But the point is, this threads directly into the radiator. So your hose end has a swivel head, it has the O-ring fitting, goes right into the radiator. Now you've eliminated one more possible location for failure. So when you're looking at plumbing a system from a point of the totality and how many fittings you have, anywhere you can eliminate fittings is beneficial to the longevity of your project. Just another thing to keep in mind. Obviously, Fragola has some really great products. It helped us have a really compact footprint for what we were trying to accomplish. It gave us that much needed real estate on the flip side of the engine bay. Overall, I'm really, really happy with the way this portion of the builds come out. Last thing we're going to discuss is our collaborative project with Bullseye. This turbocharger was built on the foundation of their Street Billet series. However, we made a couple adjustments. We have a custom 77mm compressor wheel, standard 8374 turbine, T4 divided exhaust housing, and a powder-coated Gen 3 race cover. These turbos are available directly through LS4 King. It's our exclusive assembly. We're one of the first in the industry to offer a 77mm wheel. And the thing that I really like about that for a street-driven vehicle is it bridges the traditional gap in mid-frame technology of 75 to 80mm. So you have a compressor wheel that's a little bit lighter, still maintains some of the quick spool characteristics, but can support 1,000 horsepower easily. So what you'll notice is we have a 1 5/8 mild steel bar that we've bent up and tied into the radiator support, and it's actually a chassis mount for this turbo. We'll have to add a little flex joints on the crossover and the exhaust side, just because of the run of piping that we're going to have. But this offered so many benefits for what we're trying to accomplish. We've got the turbo moved far forward past the front tire to give us some additional weight leverage over the nose, which is really critical in a front wheel drive application where you're trying to go after ET mile an hour. Hope you guys found this video useful. We tried to cram as much technical information in it as we could. If you're interested in any of these products, I am a distributor for all the manufacturers we spoke about. I'd be happy to set you up so we can get your project rolling in the right direction. Alternatively, if you'd like to speak with manufacturers directly, I'd love to share my contacts so that you can get all the information you need correctly the first time. Thank you for watching. I'm looking forward to sharing more progress as we move through this build, as well as some of the others we have in the shop. Thank you.